say I've made the bureau payment, and I've made my personal payment, but I've heard nothing or gotten nothing in writing regarding, the schedule for the personal payments and all that. Yeah. Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. We will be switching to a different monitor here, so bear with us. You may hear some fumbling here as we connect up an additional monitor, actually. Let's switch to a different one. And I will actually stop the stream here. It looks like I need to restart in order to get the monitor recognized. Be back in a few minutes. Good morning. Alright, roughly 5 minutes to start here, and I will be turning off the camera temporarily. Good morning, this is Fred Nels. I'm about to turn on the camera. Be just one moment here. And I can see that you guys have joined the chat. And let me go ahead and type in my introduction, and I will let you know that we will have another person here shortly. And we will have Richard Piasecki, our CEO, joining us here shortly. I'll get him to wave in. One moment, please.
Good morning, folks. I'm Rich Piasecki. I'm the president of the Bureau of Office Services.
And we are ready to start our presentation. If you want to let me go ahead and I'll take the helm here. You can just move across, or you can stay there. I just wanted to have the face on the camera here. It'll just be a moment. And I can see that we have a number of different people here from El Paso County. Welcome. We're going to go ahead and get started then. And as we're performing this presentation, feel free to type in any comments, questions, that sort of thing as we're going along. And we'll be monitoring, and we'll just simply pause the presentation and answer your questions or take your comment to heart and proceed from there. Here we go. That's us. And on to our first slide, which has to do with what we're going to cover during our presentation, which is a summary of our services. We're going to do dictation capture for El Paso County, which means all of your officers, all of your staff that wish to do call-in telephone recording, calling into our toll-free number. They can also, say for example, if you have investigators that are doing interviews or officers that are doing interviews that are not online in nature where you'd want to be on a telephone, you can use digital recorders and that sort of thing, and we'll get that into a minute, where you can then upload those to our website or FTP sites, either automatically or in batch, either via the software or through separate software, depending on how you guys work it. We're going to use your templates or templates that we design around what you guys use for your forms or for your case management system, much like we do for other law enforcement agencies, and we're going to deliver to you a printable Word document or a secured PDF format or other format that you guys approve. In addition, we're also going to archive all of your recordings and all of the documents, so that way 6 months later something gets lost or something needs to be edited or added to, our transcription staff and QA editors and administrators will be able to get at those things. And I say 6 months, but it might be a year later, 2 years later, that sort of thing. And that's the summary of what we're going to be going over today. I'm going to pause for a good 30 seconds and check the screen here to see if there are any comments at this time, so bear with me. I see that there's a question about how long they're archived for. I'm not certain what the contract calls for, but it will be at least what the contract calls for. Let's say the contract calls for exactly 1 year. We will...
Right now, there is no stipulation as to length of archive, but we can archive all the documents forever and the recordings.
And when he says forever, decades. We have more than sufficient storage on site here. We have enormous drive arrays, so we can store the recordings and the documents for a very long time. If you would like, we also have the ability to completely wipe all recordings and documents on a schedule. Say, for example, if you say, we want these archived for exactly 1 year, and after 1 year, we want those securely overwritten, then we'll configure it for exactly 1 year, or 2 years, or 5 years, or whatever you guys say. Hopefully that answers your question. And feel free to just ask additional questions or follow-up questions as needed. We're going to move on. The first part we're going to go over is the dictation and recording part of what we do. We're going to give you call-in dictation access. That's available 24/7, 365. We have redundant servers. If a server goes down, the next server will pick up and answer calls. If, for example, the telephone network in Illinois, Colorado, somewhere in between goes down, we do have backup numbers as well through different carriers, so that way you'll always have a backup number to call. You'll call toll-free, so there'll be no charge. And when your staff and officers and deputies call in, there'll be customized prompts. So let's say, for example, whenever somebody calls in, they'll always have to reference a case number. We'll prompt them for a case number, or a subject ID, or an incident number, that sort of thing. We'll prompt them as necessary. Otherwise, if you don't want any prompts, a user will log in with a user ID and password, and then not be prompted for anything and have to speak everything on the telephone. Here's an example that we made up. We modified an existing customer's dictation instructions, so you can see here's how your dictation instructions will look, where it goes over step by step precisely what needs to be done in order to dial into our system. And of course this will vary depending on exactly what you tell us, that here's what we need. We need officers to be prompted for this, this, and this. One moment, please. We'll do that accordingly. When users are using this system, they'll be using different buttons on the telephone to control the recording. So if they want to rewind and hear what they said before, they'll hit one button. If they want to play, if they want to fast forward, if they want to do multiple recordings under one session, they'll hit a button to end the current recording and begin another recording. Or if they just want to hang up, they hit a hang up button. There's also priority buttons and things like that. There's a variety of options that I'm not going to cover here because it does get rather complex, but you may have some questions about that. I'm going to go ahead and move on, and I see that there are other questions here, and I'll get to those in a minute. Your users will also have the ability to use recordings that they get via other sources. For example, you may have surveillance systems, recorders that you carry with you occasionally to give interviews and that sort of thing. Those recordings can be from virtually any source. Some of them are copy protected, and we will need to get your encryption keys if they are copy protected or have automatic encryption on them, that sort of thing. And we'll go over different compatibility things later. But you have a wide range of different devices that we can use for accepting recordings to our website. One of the latest things is people love to use their smartphones for recording, and there's some very good recording programs available for smartphones and tablets and different devices like that. Once those things are recorded, you can either upload them manually to our website or to our FTP site, or you can have the software that you use, especially like the smartphone applications, automatically upload those to our site by just entering some things into your recording software. And we'll go over some of the recording software that gets used for that.
Hi, this is Rich again. I basically just want to state that no matter how complex or how simple we make the system, you have two methodologies, basically telephone dictation or uploading files. Whatever methodology you choose to use, we can deal with. Now we can go into the details and bore you to tears with all the details, or we can just simply say we can do it both ways. We do it both ways for a variety of facilities. We've always done it that way, and you know, I'd like to stop here for a second and address some of the questions that I see have come up in the chat. So,
I see that there's a question about the destruction process, and there's a military procedure for doing that, and I want to say it's got a designation of 502.222, where it's a triple overwrite on the computer before it's deleted, and that also includes there's some specific areas on the computer, specifically the way folders and directories and directory entries are stored. There's a triple overwrite on those as well, and we have documentation on that, and we can provide you with that, as well as screenshots of the process of how it works and where it's configured and what the different options are on our end. So you'll see exactly how those things are done if you need something securely destroyed, whether that's recordings or documents. And again, that happens automatically once it's configured in our system. And I'll wait a few more seconds to see if there's a follow-up question. And then move on. This is just going to show you that we have the ability to use a variety of different professional and consumer grade recorders. Although we do encourage the use of professional recorders, they do have security features and greater durability than consumer recorders, but it depends on what you already have. Although if you needed recommendations, we can certainly give them to you. We happen to use Philips, Olympus, and Grundig brands here, but there are other ones as well. And I'm just going to kind of blow through this rather quick just to show you that we support portable dictation units, and we're quite well versed on exactly how these things are configured and how they work and that sort of thing. They're also something that will automatically send to us once they're docked with a computer. These typically are things that don't have built-in Wi-Fi, but they oftentimes do have Bluetooth capability, so if you want to use them with a Bluetooth microphone, those will work too. We're going to pause here for a moment because there's a specific question about what we're covering right now. They wanted to know whether or not... yes, let's mute the music. Good point. Let's see if I know how to mute the music. I believe I do. I need to go over to desktop audio. Give me a moment here. There we go. That should take care of that desktop music. Much better. Let me fix something over on the other screen.
okay. All right, so you have a question up there that says, are the recorders included in our service? Are the recorders included? Yes, depending on the contract stipulations, we can include the recorders, or we can provide them, or you can provide them.
Well, the thing is, I'm fairly certain that the solicitation did not include those in our pricing.
Well, it really wasn't a formal contract proposal. It was a request for quotation. So
gotcha.
The terms are amenable and adjustable. It's just we're giving you the presentation based on what we know you were looking for initially.
Gotcha. And you know what? I can see that the music has come back here. I told it to mute. And let me put the volume all the way to 0. Even though it's muted, for some reason it came back. Nope, and it's coming back again. Give me just a moment. I'm going to stop the presentation. Let me go to the very top.
And yes, there are apps for both smartphones and iPhones, Android-based and iPhone-based, obviously, for dictation purposes.
Yeah, and that's going to be our next subject right here. Let's start the presentation. Too much music. Page down. I don't know why this is playing the music. And now it's playing two music. This is bad. Excuse us, please. You know what? We're going to...
Unless you're a fan of Emerson, Lake and Palmer, you're going to find two types of music very irritating. Fred's trying to see if he can fix it now.
Yeah, give me a moment here. And we need to put the volume as far down as we can. Let's mute that from here. It was because it was coming through the desktop. Even though it was muted in the stream, it was still coming through from the computer speakers here. Apologize for that again. And we're going to get into the smartphone apps. We had a specific question about the smartphone apps. We do support smartphones and tablets. There's many off-the-shelf apps that you can use. We do have some that we recommend, and we'll go ahead and mention those here. The apps are available for virtually all of the different mobile operating systems, including the most popular Android and iOS. But these allow for different levels of sophistication insofar as recording and mixing from multiple mics, using Bluetooth, having the ability to upload to websites and upload to FTP sites, to be able to upload securely and that sort of thing. So we can talk about that later, but there are definitely very good apps out there for doing recordings with varying levels of sophistication. And like I said, they do, most of these, especially the ones above, do either automatic or manual sends after you record, and you can do it either in batch or one at a time or as they're done, and you can even schedule recordings on some of them, so you can do things surreptitiously and include those in different ways of different ways that you use investigations. If you want to send manually, we provide you instructions for how to access our website, and those are thumbnails of how to access our web and FTP sites for using different browsers. So anybody with a smartphone or computer with web access, regardless of operating system, can access our website, and depending on the sophistication of the software that you use for transferring via FTP or websites, that can either be automatic or manual. And again, we can recommend different apps for you to use depending on how you want to send to us. And you can do that 24/7, 365. And you can also send us additional information along with recordings, such as sheets showing witness names and different forms, depending on how we decide to work through our workflows. The next step, we're going to briefly go over how we do our transcription. And to preface this, I just want to let you guys know that when we transcribe, everybody is working in a centralized system. We don't have transcriptionists working on individual computers, disconnected, manually opening up templates and doing things. Everybody's working in a rather sophisticated system that does all of the menial administrative tasks for them. And the people that work for us are all professional transcriptionists that have been working at it for a very long time. Our average user or average transcriptionist has been with us for over 16 years, and we've got some that have been with us since the 60s and 70s, but very good transcriptionists, very fast, and they only use our equipment. Nobody's using their home system, or you can't log into the neighbor system. You have to use the bureau system. They're fully encrypted, and we have very strict policy on what they're to be used for, and that restricts them from only using our software and approved software, and maintaining antivirus and maintaining anti-malware, and only allowing emails coming from certain domains, specifically our domain, that sort of thing.
We provide all the equipment to our transcription staff at no cost, so they're never allowed to log in, nor could they from any personal computer, they're basically tied to our system on our hardware and software.
That's right. And in fact, it requires a specific client to run. In fact, here's a picture of that client right here showing a data entry screen. And most of our data entry screens are similar to this, to where you type in different things at the data entry screen, or it automatically populates from something that an administrator has entered, or from a data feed from the customer, and then takes that information, pops it into however many templates are necessary to transcribe what they are working on. They're typing into an automated document management system that automatically ties the media that you send us or your dictation users dictate to us to one or more documents, depending on whether or not things are, more than one thing is dictated in the thing.
I'm going to try to reference one of the questions. Currently, we have over 40 transcriptionists.
All right. Our system manages all recordings, and it manages them in a rather sophisticated way in a database where things are prioritized based on work type, based on author who recorded it, based on, I think it's about 8 different parameters. So the recordings that will be done for you will be prioritized according to exactly how you tell us to prioritize recordings. So if you want certain reports done right away all the time, we will prioritize those reports. If you have a one-time job that needs to be prioritized in front of everything else, you call us, we'll prioritize that one-time job, or whatever, however many jobs, in front of other jobs, that sort of thing.
You also will have the ability to prioritize work if you're using the dictation system by hitting a key. So in other words, if there's a stat or rush report that needs to be done, it's a simple key feature, and it automatically goes to the top for all transcriptionists.
And work gets routed to different transcriptions depending on their capabilities. Some might be better at doing multi-person recording, for example, if you have interviews where you have 3 participants, 2 investigators doing the interview, and then a witness, and then a person that you're interrogating. Some people are not very amenable to that, so we have the work routed to the appropriate transcriptions depending on the type of work that it is. Same thing for different languages. If we're doing a foreign language translation, of course the foreign language is only going to be sent to the people with that capability. And then after things are routed, all the document processing is automatic as well. Things are tied in. Recordings are specifically tied into specific work types that might have different formats. And this is kind of how we see everything. We see everything in a database view that shows listings of different things that are pending, what their priorities are based on color, and we can also view documents. Go ahead, Rich.
Okay, a couple more questions that I see up on the screen. Can we do turnaround in less than 3 hours at any times of the day? Yes, we can do that. Now, I also stipulate if you have a 2-hour recording, you're not going to get it back in 3 hours. It's physically impossible to turn something that quickly. These are human beings doing the work. We don't use automated systems to do it. Day or night? Yes, we have people that work at night as well. Currently, we do 2 languages. We do English primarily, of course, and we do Spanish.
All right. Going back to how our system works, it manages all recordings. We can monitor the status. In fact, we'll go over it a little bit later. We actually can give access to some of your administrators so they can see the same things that we see. You can reprioritize work. I had mentioned that previously. Check the history of old work to see when things were done, when it was submitted to us, when somebody dictated. Like, for example, you might be missing an interview on somebody and then see, oh, look, that thing, it came in a week late. Why did it come in a week late? You can see in the history that we received that a week late or 5 days late, and then we got it turned around in however many days. And the fact that it was 7 hours long, it took, usually there's a 2 to 3 times ratio when something is 1 hour long. It usually takes between 2 to 3 hours to transcribe, and that's usually for a single person recording. If it's a multiple person recording, it's usually 3 to 4. So that's something to bear in mind.
Administrators can log into our system, and given the fact that they're allowed access to all features in the system, they can see turnaround times, they can see everything, or we can provide those reports to you in a matter of minutes. So as Fred alluded to, if a report you thought was dictated and you got it a week later, we can say, no, here's when we got the voice file, here's when it was transcribed, here's who was transcribed by, that sort of thing. So it's a very sophisticated document processing system that shows every aspect and step involved in creating your report.
And administrators, if your administrators choose to have access to our system, they'll be able to actually see the documents, print out the documents, export the documents, download the documents, that sort of thing. You can do searches and queries. So let's say you say, I want to see everything Deputy Smith did for the entire year of 2016. You can do a simple query and click on author, Deputy Smith, date range, January 1st, 2016 to December 2016, and you'll see all the work that he did. Or, for example, if they're broken down by location, you can see by location. So everything that came from the Northwest precinct, you can see everything from Northwest, depending on how you tell us to break down your work. And then the documents we're going to transcribe for you. We're going to use your forms and templates. Unless, for example, you don't have forms and templates for different types of reports. Oftentimes, police departments will have different forms for different types of situations, for example, evidence forms or witness identification forms. And some of those can be rather complicated and have all sorts of different data fields and check boxes, such as tattoos and aliases and male, female, and we can integrate all of that into our workflow. And when we get templates into our system, everybody accesses the same templates. So transcriptionist A doesn't have to download templates and stay current with them. When she logs into our system, all the latest stuff is available. So if we made a change an hour ago, she's going to have all of those changes. So for example, if you say, hey, look, we need to get rid of this template and replace it with this new template, we don't have to update everybody. All we have to do is make that change in one place, and everybody's automatically updated.
Also, the templates can be specific to the individual dictator.
Yeah, normally we have the same templates customized just on a customer basis, so the customer's forms are all the same for everybody, but sometimes people like their own special forms, like this person wants a separate interview form where it's filled out in a different way. That's very easy to do on our system, so whenever transcriptionist tries to bring up an interview for Deputy Smith, his are going to be triple spaced instead of double spaced, and they're going to have things indented differently, and they're going to have a picture of him at the top or whatever you guys want.
And again, that doesn't necessarily have to be individualized. If you want everyone's work to look identical, that's the way the templates are designed.
That's normally how customers do it anyway. In addition, there's some fancy things that we can do. We can put logos and letterheads and different formats that are a little bit more complex. Electronic signatures, tables and form elements. Here are a few of the different things, and here's an example over on the right. Certifications are very popular, especially in the legal and law enforcement, where you certify that what you're doing is correct and true transcript, that you don't have any involvement whatsoever with the transcript, and then those typically have to be notarized for when you're submitting something to court. And we take care of that as well as detailed sign-off data on precisely when it was sent to us, the date and time, when it was transcribed, date and time, who it was transcribed by, how long they took, that sort of thing. And they also have another question. Did you want to save that for later or go over that right away? Our customer base and history?
We are a 58-year-old corporation. Our customer base is varied across the country. We do work for government facilities. We do work for police departments. We do work for medical facilities. We do work for law firms. We do work for market research and focus group companies. Every customer's work is separate. It's kept separate. Transcriptionists are only allowed to access a customer based on our dictation system parameters, that sort of thing, as well as in the FTP site. We've, as I said, been in business 58 years. If you wanted to see some equipment from 60 years ago, trust me, I have it in my office in my antique section. So this isn't anything new to us. This is what we do. We've always tried to differentiate ourselves simply by stating that our transcription staff are our employees. We don't use independent contractors, and we don't use subcontractors. These are people that work for us day in and day out.
All right. Moving on to, we went over document formats, how we can format a document pretty much however you want. We'll also name that document in an understandable fashion, and it will be consistent. We specify on our server that we want file names that start with this have this information, the next information, this information, this information. It will always be like that. For example, let's say you want things named by location, and then the investigating deputy, and then a case number, and then a date, and then the subject that they were mainly working on, and then you want that sent as a Word file. We will use the elements that you want us to use in the order that you want us to use in a consistent fashion. It will happen on the server level, so things will always be named the same. You're not going to be getting different names because transcriptionist Sally names her documents using a job number, and then transcriptionist Jane uses the subject name. So just an example about how we name things. Billing and tracking. If your users want to be able to track reports, you will be given access to our servers. And you can get access to our servers using all modern platforms. And the instructions, here's thumbnails of the instructions. And typically only administrators want access to this, but occasionally we have some end users that want access to see the status of their reports at any given time, that sort of thing. Although it also gives them the ability to view reports and do different things, which you may not or you may want to do. It depends. And you can also do audits when you get your bills. You can take a look at historical data and how much work has been done by different locations or by different deputies, or however you break down work by different work types. For example, how many interviews did we have? How many homicide reports? How many witness reports did we have? And we can also provide that with your bill. In fact, a lot of customers like to receive this in Excel format, and there's an example here on the screen of one that's in Excel format where it shows different types of work and what the turnaround is and how many reports were provided that month and how many lines there were and what the turnaround was and that sort of thing. And same thing with the billing. We do the billing exactly how you want it. Or we can just provide you a summary bill, which just gives you a total, but that's unusual. And that's it. Any more comments or questions? The criminal justice. That's something that's required for this contract, where we have to have background investigations done for the transcriptionists, and that's something that we will do for the transcriptionists that will be working on your account, and we will give you those background investigations. That's something that we've had to do for federal accounts, and we do have federal background investigations on a number of our staff members, myself included, and I don't know if those would qualify, but I think there was something very specific in your request for bid that wanted a very specific type of background investigation. I think it was fingerprinting too. I'm not certain, but we can double check.
The question about billing, we bill twice a month, so it's a summation. It'll have a total number of reports, and then it'll be a breakdown, as Fred said, by location, department, officer, dictator, whatever methodology you want, but we bill on the 15th and the end of the month.
And we'll give it another minute or so here to see if there's any more follow-up questions. Feel free to have me go back to something that you wanted to see that maybe I went through a little bit too fast. And if you want, we'd be happy to call in to be interactive now with whoever would like us to call in. Like maybe, for example, if you're in a conference room, we'd be happy to call into the conference room. Or you can call into our conference room. In fact, I will give you that number right now. And now the conference room extension is escaping me, but you can actually dial operator, and then we'll just pick up from in here.
In regards to our QA or quality plan, every transcriptionist is randomly sampled. The sampling is based on criteria such as difficulty of recording. Every transcriptionist has the ability to route a report to a QA editor. So in other words, if they leave a blank, it's going to automatically go to QA for review, and then it goes back to you.
In fact, that was something that we detailed in pretty excruciating detail in our proposal that we provided to you. I think it went on for 5 or 6 pages, if I'm not mistaken.
I honestly don't recall the conference room extension.
Yeah, if they just hit extension 0, we'll actually hear it ringing over at the receptionist, and I think we can pick it up. If you want to call in. Otherwise, go ahead and provide us a number, and we'll call in to you if you want to do that. If not, no big deal. We'll just call it quits here in the next minute or so if we get no more questions. Okay, very good. And I'm going to go over to the phone here. And I'm probably going to end up having to mute this, or else we're going to get some really weird feedback if I don't. Let me turn off the main desktop display. And I'm about to mute the microphone here. So if you guys don't call in, I'm not seeing you guys call in yet. Oh, let me unmute the microphone. We're not hearing you hit us. Did I type the number wrong? 800-528-7328. That's correct. And I'll give our local number, 630-323-2600. Oh, not a problem. Or you can call from a cell phone that has a loudspeaker and then just put it on speaker. Or just throw up your number and we'll call you guys. Oh, but yeah, I know you guys are looking for a cord.
Fred, why don't you go get the phone and bring it over?
I'll get the phone.
Should we mute the speaker, or is it still on?
It's still on, so
Okay.
when they call, they'll see the phone ring, but then I'll mute it over
Okay, that's fine.
on our encoder.
Our
All right.
dictation transcription system is in our location here in Burr Ridge, Illinois. We don't outsource any of it, so 100% of all the hardware is positioned
Here we go.
here.
Bureau Fred speaking. Hello. Yep, this is Fred. In fact, I just muted the microphone, and shortly you'll see me on camera with the phone. And I'm about to put you on speaker. Here we go.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Now, it will be a little bit confusing if you look at the camera. There's going to be about a 10-second delay. That's an automatic YouTube delay when you stream. So anyway, we can hear you just fine.
So, ladies and gentlemen, why don't you go forward and ask whatever questions you'd like to ask.
Okay, all right, this is Candace, and you're on my cell phone, so hopefully this is okay. Our conference room hooked up with an Ethernet cable, and apparently someone took it out of this room the other day and put it somewhere else and didn't return it. So.
We know what that's like.
Understandable.
Okay, so specifically we wanted to ask about your quality plan, to see if we could discuss that just a little bit.
Did you understand what she said?
You have a question regarding our quality plan?
Yes, how you have the quality assurance.
Well, there's multiple methodologies that we utilize for quality control. First of all, transcriptionists have the ability to route any dictation, any report, directly to QA. If there's a blank left in a report, it's going to automatically go to QA.
That's 2 ways now.
So
you've detailed.
correct.
They can manually route it, as well as any time there's a blank, it automatically is going to be reviewed by a QA editor.
There is a random sampling rate of at least 5% of every report done by every transcriptionist where QA goes through those reports.
In addition, that's done usually at the facility level or customer level. We can also do that at the department level. Let's say, for example, you've got a number of deputies that are kind of hard to understand. We'll set those at a higher QA level if they're from the same location, or we can set them individually by officer or by author on our system as well. In fact, if some of you want to get our original proposal, we can email those to you if you want to provide us the email address either on the screen or just tell us those, and we'll send you those so you can go through our QA procedure, because it's detailed in excruciating detail on how that works.
Okay. Someone else, I was going to go answer the door, but I might as well ask myself, right? How about your training plan? Can you tell us how you would bring us up if we chose you on services and get our people up to speed and ready to start dictating?
We would provide the dictation instructions and cards physically first after we talked with your administrative people there as to how you wanted the dictation system set up. We would provide the same type of instructions for the FTP site as well. Then what we would do is I prefer to do a on-site training program where one of us, either Fred or I, would come out there and sit down and go through everything with both administration and the people that are going to be utilizing this day in and day out. And obviously that's not possible for everyone there because people work different shifts, that sort of thing. But we like to do both a connectivity training session as well as an in-person training session.
Yeah, and we also have some videos available as well as reference material that we would send to you. We post those on YouTube as well as send them to you via email for distribution to everybody, or we can distribute it to your officers as long as you give us lists of, here's all of our users, here's their email addresses, please send these out on the next update, that sort of thing.
And we also provide a 24-hour number for anyone to call us, and trust me, we get calls in the middle of the night, usually from someone who hasn't dictated previously, and now they've got an issue in terms of logging into the system, or they're not sure of what they're doing, to be perfectly candid. So we respond, and those numbers are part of our dictation system and our dictation cards, and are provided to every one of you as well.
This is Kirsten. If we have submitted a transcription to you at regular turnaround time, which now turns into your priority, how can we change it to your priority after it's been submitted, and would that change the cost of that transcription?
Currently, there's two methodologies. Of course, if it's during the day, you can call the office and we can do it for you. If you're an administrator that has the ability to dial into the system and do changes, you can do it yourself. Or, as I said, call in, administration doing it themselves at your end. And, as I said, it's a really simplistic methodology that we utilize. And as I stated earlier, dictators from day one can make something a priority. We really try not to do that because there are people that are always going to decide that their work's more important than everyone else's.
And will always press the priority button on every piece of work that they do, so they will get their work first at the expense of other people getting their work.
What we like to also do is provide you feedback in terms of what certain individuals might be doing right or wrong, or give suggestions as to what can improve the quality of their dictation. Because sometimes if they're using a digital portable or they're not talking directly into the telephone, there's going to be blanks, plain and simple, because of what they're doing. So we try to alleviate as much of that as possible.
How is that feedback provided?
Well, when you are a customer of ours, you're provided with an account manager. The account manager is going to be the point of contact for all of your administrators and all of your staff to make requests, to get feedback insofar as who's doing things wrong, not following procedure, not giving case ID numbers every time, not speaking names, not spelling names as they need to be spelled. And your account manager, you will have their desk phone. You will have their company cell phone, which is a 24/7 cell phone. You'll be able to text them, call them. You'll also be able to instant message them or email them, depending on what's most convenient to you or makes sense depending on your level of urgency for whatever issue you have. In addition, you get access to our help desk, our IT help desk, so if you have technical issues or your IT staff needs to contact us about access to one of your servers or something more technical in nature, I would probably end up being the one that would ultimately decide on who deals with that insofar as IT. I am the IT director. But most of the things will be funneled through your account manager. But Rich is also available. He's a very hands-on CEO, so if there's something that needs executive level treatment, contract level decisions, Rich is available, and you will have Rich's desk phone and cell phone as well.
Okay, on your reporting, we couldn't see your report really well, but is some of that feedback available in the reporting, like statistics about how many blanks per report?
Yes.
Some kind of that information available?
That is, in fact, you'll actually have the ability to see comments. In addition to that, you'll see comments that transcriptionists have made, like this was done on the roadside, so the level of noise was enough to drown out about half of what was being spoken, or there was excessive winds and this was being done outdoors, that sort of thing. Or the recorder was put inside his pocket and he put something in front of it so we couldn't make out anything. You know, you'll have comments as well. That all is in our system.
Did you hear that?
We heard somebody was talking, but we couldn't hear what they were saying.
We would like to know what your uptime is per year, withstanding routine maintenance that you've scheduled.
Sure.
And then how you're set up as far as disaster recovery and failover and things like that.
Oh, sure. We've got two offices, an office in Scottsdale and here. When our phone service goes down here, it's routed automatically to Scottsdale. If the phone service goes down here or in Scottsdale, we actually have backup landlines here because we pretty much get fed by T1s for our telephony systems. But we also have a few backup landlines. I think it's 5 landlines for call-ins when the T1s go down, and it's actually with a different carrier. For our data processing, we've got 3 separate ISPs feeding us, and those are all redundantly routed. So our website should be up, and it's all hosted. Every single bit of it is hosted in our offices. So when there's a problem, we know about it because it's here in our offices. We monitor our systems, we track our systems, we fix our systems, we do everything insofar as hosting and with our systems.
We have the capability also, all of our systems here are on battery backup, so if the power were to go out, and specifically 3 years ago, the power in this neighborhood went out for 3 days after a severe thunderstorm during the summer. We ran nonstop. We have generators that power all of our systems.
Yeah, we've got a natural gas generator here at this location, at our headquarters location. We only have battery backup at our Scottsdale location, but we can be running pretty much indefinitely as long as the generator lasts, which at the longest point we needed was for 3 days, and I think that was back in either 2011 or 2012. But we've needed it once already this year. I think we were down for about an hour insofar as electrical power, but none of our systems were down.
And there would be no implication with the power being out here or impact on any dictation system whatsoever.
Right.
The
Right.
battery backups are constant, so there's no delay or pause, or
Yeah,
we're not going to say, oh, we'll be back up in an hour.
Yeah, our generator takes about 10 seconds to kick in, but we've got an enormous 20 or 18 kVA battery backup that backs up all of our orange outlets in our office, which is all of our servers, all of our administrator workstations, and that sort of thing. So in the past year, I don't believe we've had any outage whatsoever, even though we have had power outage and telephone service failures on our T1s. Our backups are still there and they still work.
Our dictation systems are also redundant. So in other words, even if we were doing routine maintenance on one aspect of the dictation system, your work is still going through. No one at your end knows that there's any type of routine maintenance going on. The only time we've ever gone down is when we literally moved here from our previous location in Burr Ridge, Illinois, to this location 6 years ago. We took the servers down on a Sunday at midnight, and we were back up and running 2 hours later when they were all routed here. And that's basically it. We run 24/7, 365.
Yeah, we only moved a mile away from where we used to be, or a mile and a half away. And we've been...
So, follow-up question I have from this. before, I think when you guys put in the slides. You run 24/7, so what if, how do things get routed if something comes in at 2 in the morning to a transcriber, to get transcribed?
Well, our transcription,
It's automatic.
it's automatic. Our transcription system's automatic. So if the transcriptionist that's on duty at that point in time has the ability to do transcription of a specific report type, or someone prioritizes something, it's done. There's no need for human intervention for the most part.
So how are they notified? And specifically, I'm thinking if we do have something that's priority at 2 in the morning, and maybe, I don't know that you actually have transcription that's actually awake and be notified at that time, how would the notification happen that we had something happen at 2 a.m. in the morning and we need that 3-hour turnaround?
We've got 24/7 coverage.
Yeah.
That automatically pops up on their screen. Their next available job, if it's a priority job, will be that job, and it will show up in red.
We do not allow any of our clients.
How do they get that notification? They're sleeping.
They're working.
No. We have 24/7 coverage of
Yeah.
transcription.
Yeah.
We're an acute. We do a lot of stuff for hospitals. We do a lot of stuff for the military. That stuff is high priority and it has to be done 24/7. We have people working 24/7.
Your work would be put in
You
the.
have shifts. You do have people assigned to be up between 12 p.m. and 5 in the morning.
Yes.
Correct.
What is the notification process when the transcription is done? How do you get notified?
It depends. There's various options. Email notification is something that we can automatically do when the document spits out. You'll get an email that the document is available, or it will just be emailed automatically to the deputy that submitted it, or investigator that submitted it,
Or
that
to
sort of
whatever administrative person you deem to be the receptacle for all automated documents.
It could be a single person,
Yeah.
right? Or it could just be dumped to our website, or it could be uploaded to your servers. It really depends. And in fact, the bid that you guys sent out didn't mention whether or not you guys use a case management system that has the ability to import. We can actually do an interface to that system, so it will be imported directly into your case management system. But again, there was no details provided in the bid that you sent out about what case management system you use, what sort of documentation capabilities it has, whether or not you use it for documentation, or whether things are done separately, that sort of thing.
Yes, and this is a huge if, we probably wouldn't do it, but if we wanted to program an interface to our records management system, is that extra cost?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. That's a time and material charge, and it varies depending on the system and what's available for us to work with. So, but that is not included in our base rates. Never has been. It's just some interfaces are pretty simple. Other ones are extremely complex.
Yeah.
Do you have more questions? It's running up on the 11 o'clock hour, so. Okay.
All right.
All right. I think you've answered most of our questions here. If we come up with anything afterwards, we'll send that through Ron to you.
Sounds good.
And yeah, we're going to be putting together our evaluations from all the vendors in the next few days, and Ron will be getting back to all the vendors on where we're going to go next.
Wonderful.
Well, thank you for your time. It's appreciated. And as a final point, I just would like to re-stress the fact again that we're not using independent contractors, subcontractors. These are employees that are doing work day in and day out, and we assign these people on a permanent basis to accounts. So it's going to be the same people doing the work after, obviously, the inception period ends.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Have a good afternoon, folks.
Bye-bye.
All right. Stop.